apologies. Okay, so in terms of the first bit around your strategic choice, the resource-based view still applies. So what we have is the organization trying to get the best resources, the best capabilities, making sure that those capabilities are dynamic, and then somehow stretching those to the realities of the external environment. Now, all of that will ultimately take you to your vision and your mission statement. We spoke about strategic intent. You'll remember from last semester that strategic intent is that option adopted by Japanese organizations where it's about winning at all costs. Whether you adopt a strategic intent approach, trying to outplay your competitor, or whether you have a vision of the future, the focus, though, in terms of that is to make sure that those elements there, the resources, the capabilities, align with that vision, with that intent. From an organization's perspective, the focus is to also make sure that that vision we create allows each of these business level strategies to unfold as well. So when we think of our vision and our mission statement and our long-term objectives and our value statement, we've got to make sure that we accommodate every single one of our business units within that specific multinational. Now, if you think of Tata and Tata's vision, it has to be a comprehensive and wide vision. I must admit, I don't know what it is, and I'm going to type it here in here. I'm going to sound all intelligent. Guys, you can have a look at that. I'll share it with you now. Okay. So essentially, yeah, to be globally significant in each of our chosen businesses by 2025. And then the mission, you guys can see if you link to that and their value statement. Remember, one of the rules about a vision and mission and value statements is that they belong to that organization and its stakeholders. So I'm always quite reluctant to criticize another organization's vision and mission because, you know, I'm not really a stakeholder within the broader Tata. Have a glance at that. We'll chat about that again. So at the business level strategy, obviously here we decide how we're going to compete in a particular market. So we look at one of those generic strategies. Are we going to approach within this division an approach based on cost, an approach based on uniqueness or differentiation, an approach based on focus, or a combination of those? And then the key thing in terms of those corporate level strategies is that it somehow has to accommodate each of those business units. And it really is to make sure that we have a different set of businesses competing in different markets. How would we then explain something like Massmart, Walmart? Could we argue that Massmart, Walmart's different divisions compete against each other, or are they unique enough to compete in their own specific area, their own industry? Massmart, Walmart, those divisions, I mean, are they diverse enough, or are they competing against each other? So if we think of macro, is macro unique enough to be separated from game? Yeah, I think there could be a bit of that. I think sometimes people think they compete against each other, especially with the way game is going, where game used to be, when you walked into it, it had a classier feel to it, where macro is no frills. When you walk into macro, you expect to see the ceilings, you expect no covering on the floor. But I think over time, we've seen game change. And I think it's a realization that, you know, macro is never going to be in a place where there's a lot of foot traffic because you need such vast spaces. But game, to me, has become macro in cities with places with lots of foot traffic. Builders Express, is that unique enough to set itself aside from macro? Is Builders Express unique enough to set itself aside? Yeah, I think there's a specialty store. I think they're highly differentiated. Their focus is very much around this sort of construction, gardening, that kind of arenas. Unique enough? Okay. So one of the challenges that Massmart or Walmart would have is really, do we need all these divisions? Can anyone remember one of the divisions that's disappeared from underneath Massmart, Walmart? It was decided that it wasn't viable anymore. Can anyone remember the division that disappeared about 2 years ago? Guys, it was, you know this, it was Dion Wired. Remember, Dion Wired was an exclusive store. It didn't make sense. It wasn't unique enough to stand separately from Game when Game was still a little bit fancier. It didn't make sense in terms of the kinds of customers that would go to Macro. So essentially, they had lots of differentiated things, including the way they priced things. They were one of those stores that never used 99. So you would never be able to buy something for 9,999 Rand and 99 cents. They branded themselves in terms of full numbers. So you always saw the full number. They used to sell something that was 10,000 or 3,000. It was never 2,999, and all the psychological effects of seeing the 2,999 and the fact that people are too slow to realize that it still is just 3,000 Rand. So they had very unique ways of differentiating themselves. But Dion Wired didn't survive. I don't know if anyone's ever bought anything from Dion Wired. Has anyone ever bought anything from Dion Wired? That was exclusive. It was the, never heard of it. Yeah, they were in the fancier malls. They were in the fancier malls. And it was the kind of place that you would go to, and before you go in there, you would put your tie on and you would polish your shoes. Never heard of Dion Wired. Oh my goodness me. It doesn't exist anymore. So hold on a second. Yeah. Just to let you know what's happened and maybe why people don't know this. Yeah. Sneak. Yeah. There it is. They were closed down. Just search Dion Wired and you'll see what they looked like. I'll try and share an image for you. They were very, very fancy. So they were at the North Coast. Yeah, no, definitely, oh dear. They didn't survive. They were just too fancy. They were just too fancy. Let me, I don't know if this, don't know whether it'll show. I'm pretty sure it won't. No, it doesn't show. But if you search Dion Wired, go have a look at some of the pictures. Hold on a second. Let me stop the recording.